Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to Community Talk Toronto. I'm your host, Gurwinder Singh Virk, and today with me in the studio is Gurwinder Singh Randhawa. He's a Sikh community leader who has served the community selflessly since 1972, and he's one of the founding members of the Sikh Gurdwara in Scarborough here in Toronto. So welcome to you, Bhai Sahib Ji. I'd just like to start my first question asking you in terms of the Sikh channel, and it's now worldwide and it's just recently come to North America. What is your opinion, or do you have any view on that?
I think Sikh channel has been long overdue. You look around any minority community, especially when you are very visible, it doesn't matter wherever you live in the world, you have to have your own media, especially in today's technology, you have to have your own television channel. And I think Sikh channel has done a wonderful job in UK and Europe. I think it's about time that it should start in North America, and because there's a large community in North America and there's a need for it, especially for our future generation and even the seniors, it's very useful to them.
So, thank you for that. In terms, I just want to actually take you a little bit to your personal life, and you've been here since 1972, but I actually want to take you back to your roots, and I want you to tell me or describe to me your early life before coming to Canada.
Well, my early life has been very well disciplined and a tough life, because my father was in the army, an army officer, and you know how the discipline worked in the army at that time. Every single second counted. So born in a small village and brought up in a very well-disciplined life. Like my father used to come home 2 months every year, and we had to do our own farming and still go to school and college and university at the same time. So I knew how to manage the time and how to achieve results and how to get the work done. So I think my training started very early in the life, which helped me throughout the life, even here in Canada. So I think it depends how you're brought up as a child. It shows when you are a mature person or an adult. It shows in there.
So, just in terms of your early life, then, in the house, what Sikh influences were there in the house?
Well, the best influence I had was from my grandmother, because she was just like a saint in our village. Everyone goes to the Gurdwara in the morning and in the evening. It's a tradition. And the Granthi in the Gurdwara was a very well educated person, and he has a great personality, had a great life. It was a good role model for us, especially for the youth. So we used to go and see him every day and learn the basics of Sikhism. We learned the part at the early age and understood the meanings of Guru Granth Sahib and the Shabads. So my grandmother had the biggest impact on my life, because she used to, every night before we go to bed, she would read us a story about the Sikh history or the Sikh soldiers and Sikh warriors. And we do part every morning, every early in the morning. So I think my roots became very strong from there, from my grandmother.
In terms of village life at that time, would you describe yourself as a wealthy family or a middle-income family? What sort of economic strata would you consider your family to be in?
I think when we were brought up, there was no social competition at that time, which we have today. I would put it in a term, not a wealthy or unwealthy family. I would put it as we were a happy family. We were happy with whatever we had. We could manage to live within our means, which is hard for people to do today. And so we were not out there to make money or save money or have big bank accounts. We were there to have a good life, and I think we enjoyed our life and we had a good life. So I would put even the villages at that time. The whole village was like one family. Actually, everyone was your uncle or auntie, your thode taya ji, thode chacha ji, sare. So that's the feeling we had. I think when we go to the village today, we miss that now.
So, I mean, through that period, obviously you went to school and then to college, I take it.
That's correct.
And what did you study in college?
Well, the traditional studies in India, as you finish your high school, you go to the college, and I went to DAV College in Jalandhar, and I did my Bachelor's of Arts degree there. My subjects were economics, English, and political science, and I had Punjabi also as a language, and I was in sports. I used to play field hockey, so I was actually lucky to be healthy, both health-wise and mentally. So, you be good in education and be good in sports, then you can do good in life. But the life was good. Like at that age, few things you don't take them very seriously. But I think you feel them when you're out of their circle.
So you described your college life and you're doing your degree, or you say DAV Jalandhar College in Jalandhar, and there's many people who can be watching Sikh Channel in the UK and elsewhere in Europe who come from that college. But what is it that made you come to Canada?
I think it was just a coincidence. I never planned to leave India because our family tradition for the last 6-7 generations were in the army. So everyone used to go either in the army or in the police force. That's what I intended to do. But I had a cousin who migrated to Canada in 1967 from UK, and he just asked me to come to Canada because at that time you could come as a visitor, and that you can apply for permanent status while you're here. So the process wasn't very hard at that time. Canada needed people. They were short of people at that time, so they were encouraging people to come to Canada at that time and be a permanent resident in Canada while you're here. So I would say, like, I never planned to come to Canada. Everything worked out within about a week, and I was here. I ended up in Canada, in Toronto and Scarborough.
Well, that's fantastic. In terms of that move to Canada, what did your family think?
Well, the family is happy now. Like, my father and my mother, they also migrated here in 1983. I came here in 1972, and then I was engaged back in India, and my wife came over in 1975. We got married here, but a very simple marriage. We got married in our own house, actually, because we didn't have that many facilities at that time here. Then my parents came in 1983, and my father, he's a retired army captain. He still lives with us. He's 91 years old. The one thing we do enjoy right now here is, which is, I would say, very rare these days. We are 4 generations living under one roof right now. My father, myself, my sons, and my granddaughters. And we believe in a joint family because you help each other and you learn from each other. So I think our family is fairly well. Like I said, we don't want to be a rich family. Like we are, but we are a wealthy family. We have the wealth. We may not have the money, but we are happy with whatever we have. We're happy with our lives. We can sleep well at night, and we feel good during the daytime.
That's great. I'm interested to hear, and we will probably talk about this later on about the 4 generations under one roof. But you come to Canada now, and obviously your first you probably came with I would say £3 in UK, but I don't know, $8 or something like that.
$7, and small briefcase with 2 shirts, 2 pants, and 1 pajama. And I had a bachelor's degree from India, but I had no skills. I had no trade. I didn't know what to do. So I was in a strange country. I was 19 when I came here. In a strange country, didn't have enough education, had no skills, but had to work to make a living. But one thing which my experience, which I'm really proud to share with the whole community, is that I've been here for 41 years now, and all my jobs, I got those jobs because I was a Sikh with a turban. I was hired by an officer in the machine shop as a machinist while I was not even a machinist. I told him, I said, I am not a machinist. But he said, well, you're a Sikh, you can do it. He was a British Army, retired British Army major from the Navy. So he hired me because I was a Sikh. Uh, all my jobs have been, I've got those jobs because I was a turban Sikh. So my turban or my hair never came into my way. I think what I believe in, which I think people should do that too, is believe in yourself, trust yourself, and respect yourself. Then other will respect you as well. You have to believe in what you are, and you have to be proud of what you are. I think that was my concept. You look at the Toronto Transit Commission. It used to be a just one-sided organization, and I decided to join that force. Like they never even used to hire a colored person at that time, and I was hired with the turban, the first person with the turban on, to sit on a drive the subway train and the bus. I think I was the only one out of 14,000 people, and the advantage to me of that was because everyone knew me because I was different. So like what I'm saying is that worked to my advantage all the time, you know. And I was also as an ambassador for the community because I was dealing with public every single day. I had to be good. I had to be in control. I had to present myself because I was representing my community.
Okay. We're going to take a break now, and after the break, we're going to continue our discussion with Gurwinder Singh Randhawa. We're going to look about the early Sikh settlement in Canada, some of the Sikh struggles in terms of the Star, also the current situation in terms of how does he view the Sikh community, and look to the future as well.
Helping Hands, Punjabi Workers Advice Center. We are a not-for-profit organization serving the community free of charge. We help you gain better access to social, legal, employment, and settlement services. We are located at 79 Bramsteel Road, Brampton, Ontario, adjacent to Sikh Lehar Gurdwara. You can call us at 905-453-1012. Helping Hands, Punjabi Workers Advice Center. ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਨਾਨ ਫॉर ਪ੍ਰੋਫਿਟ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੁਫਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ, ਲੀਗਲ, ਐਮਪਲੋਇਮੈਂਟ ਤੇ ਸੈਟਲਮੈਂਟ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੈ। ਅਸੀਂ 79 ਬ੍ਰੈਮਸਟੀਲ ਰੋਡ, ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ, ontario ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੋਕੇਟਡ ਹਾਂ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਾਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ 905 453 1012। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।
Welcome back to Community Talk. I'm your host, Bhagwan Singh Virk, and in our studio we have Gurwinder Singh Randhawa, who has been discussing what's about his early life in Canada, and I just want to pick up on from where we left off from the break. When you came to Canada, could you describe to us the sort of life patterns or the life of the early immigrants who had come in the 1970s to Canada?
I think when I came in 1972, there were not that many people of South Asian origin here in Canada. I would say they were only in hundreds actually in Ontario. The beauty was because like you were dying to meet someone from your own community every day, because you can find one every day. People were very helpful, and because they were mostly single male at that time. Families came later on, but people were good. They were helpful, and because they all needed help, so we all worked together to be successful at that time. Religiously, I think we only had one Gurdwara at that time, Pape Gurdwara, 269 Pape Avenue. That was there before I came in. I think that Gurdwara was built in 1970, late 69 or 70. There were no mosque or mandir in Toronto at that time. So all Sikhs, Hindus and Muslims used to get together at Pape Gurdwara on every Sunday. So that was a good feeling at that time, but after that, like I think after 1975, the other Gurdwaras start coming into existence. But Pape Gurdwara, we had a good time there at that time.
Okay, I just want to ask a little bit about Pape Gurdwara. So do you remember, you came in 1972 and you said it was formed in 1970. Do you Do you know how it is formed and the people forming it, and what was the divans like, and what was it used? It was obviously a gurdwara, but were there other purposes as well, like as a community center or a place where people could find work and that sort of thing as well?
If you look at the history of the Pape Gurdwara, what I was told, because I did inquire about what was there before the Gurdwara was built, it used to be a horse stable, and there was a Gill family, two brothers, Jameer Singh Gill, you used to call him Jimmy Gill, and Major Gill, both brothers. I think they did most of the seva to do the cleanup and the renovations. But there were other people who helped. I think everyone helped to renovate that building. And, then it became a Gurdwara. The Diwan used to be only on Sundays. Like everyone would go there on Sundays, and there was no langar at that time because ladies were not there to cook the langar. So at the Gurpurab, we used to get together and get something going and get the langar. But then most of the visitors were coming in the late 72. So some people came in, they used to help in the Gurdwara and look after the Gurdwara, be the caretakers at the Gurdwara. It was very different from today. Like people today won't believe if I would tell them what was the situation at that time. There was no one there to do the kirtan. I know Rajinder Singh Asi is very old right now, and he used to do the kirtan. There was no one to play tabla or the tolki. Then a Gujarati came in, he used to play tabla. Like we all worked together to have a good time on Sunday. It was not just a Gurdwara, it was also a community center. It was a place to meet. It was also helping the newcomers coming to Canada. The visitors, some of the visitors used to stay at the Gurdwara for a few months before they could find work and place to live. So it was very helpful, The community was working as one unit actually, So we went through tough times. Like I wouldn't say tough time because you do expect tough times when you go to a new country, especially a new place. Your language, like we could speak English, but they wouldn't understand what we were saying. And they would speak English and we wouldn't understand what they were saying. But we picked up slowly. Like the message I got from there is, which I do want to actually give it to the younger generation, is that we came to this country with not enough education, with no skills, no place to stay, no one to feed us. Against all these odds, we were successful. And they have no reason not to be successful. They have parents' support, they have a house to stay, they have education from Canada, they speak the language well, and they have the skills. And if they say they cannot be successful, I wouldn't buy it.
You'd mentioned about some, the struggles. Now, obviously, 1970s were a time when fascist organizations were also in play in Europe and as well as in Canada as well. So how did you, as a community, deal with racism in the early 70s?
Well, I think we did join hands. First of all, we expected it, so it was not a surprise. When you expect it, you're prepared for it. We knew we had to go through it, so we used to be very careful not to walk around alone if you have a turban on in isolated areas, and have some company, and don't go to places where the troubles are. Just mind your own business and establish yourself first. If you're not established, you can't afford to get into trouble. So the racism was there, but still, what I felt in Canada was it wasn't that bad. We had few instances where we had tough time, but I'll tell you one thing: if you look at joining the Toronto Transit Commission, I know people in UK had to fight for it. Here, all I had to do was educate the placement officer, and he was convinced to hire a Sikh. In the police force, Toronto Police Force was the first one to hire a Sikh, and they recognized all 5 Ks, not just the turban. And I know the guy who was the chairperson of the police commission, Claire Westcott, and I had the chance to be part of that movement. And he was convinced that the case we put to him was that we, the Sikhs, are here in Canada now, and we're not going to leave. So in every force, the Sikhs are going to be in the future, whether they're there today, 5 years from today, or 50 years from today. And he agreed. He said, yes. I said, then why waste 50 years? Why don't you do it today? But he agreed. So even if to have a police officer with a turban on, we never had to put up a fight. We see there are two ways to work. One is confrontation, the other is consultation. We took the consultation route because it's hard to fight against big organizations. We couldn't afford to go into legal fights, but our system worked. We have people in the Toronto Transit Commission. We have people in every police force now, because the Toronto Police was the role model for all the police forces in Canada. Then the RCMP didn't give us any hard time either. The guy Baltesh Singh Randhawa from BC was the first RCMP officer.
Yeah, but actually, I remember visiting Canada at that time during Baltesh Singh Randhawa's struggle, and at that time, the racism was quite virulent, and I suspect even before, from the 1970s onwards, there must have been racism. But didn't you, as a community, self-organize to sort of fight the racism, or because consultation only happens when you have a level playing field and you have strength on your side, or you have the ability to negotiate on your side? How did you do that?
I think let me go back to the same. First of all, you have to believe in yourself, because if you trust yourself, you never give up your values. Because if you start compromising your values, it's very hard to fight any case. Okay, so we stuck to our values, and we did convince them that you have a choice. You want to hire someone, a person with principles or without principles. And they always wanted to hire someone with principles and values. We did have to fight few cases. CP Rail we had to fight. I think the guy who fought with CP Rail is still suffering from that. His name is Gurwinder Singh Randhawa. He fought, I think, in the late 70s. They wouldn't allow him to wear a turban. They wanted him to put a hard hat on. We fought through the Human Rights Commission, and even we won at the Human Rights Commission. But he went through a lot of torture, like mental torture, and he's still suffering from that fight. So there were fights, like there's no doubt there were fights, but I think you have to have challenges, and without challenges, you're not going to be united. You're not going to be a force. Sometimes the challenges, they bring you together. I think we got together and we fought together. We helped each other, and I think we're not in a bad shape right now.
No, that's very good. Just actually, since you're coming to now, I want to ask you about now. In Ontario, for example, Sikhs are not allowed to ride a motorbike with a turban. And what steps, as a community sevadar, what steps are being taken at this present time to address that situation?
I think we have two ways to go. One is to start a legal fight, which is a long battle and unpredictable results. The second thing is to lobby the politicians, lobby the lawmakers, and convince them to change the law. That's what we're working on right now. Work with the politicians, with the government, and I think we have been able to convince quite a few of them right now. At the start, we had no one who liked this idea. But now, all three parties in Ontario are listening to this case. Okay? So, first step is that they're listening. The second, now is our chance to convince them and get their support. It's a political game. It's a numbers game. We have to use our numbers as well. The areas where we have large numbers, we have to use our muscles too. In politics, you have to do it. So I think our community is politically quite active. Maybe not as mature as it should be, but I think we're there, and we're working on the politicians so we can have all parties agree to change the law. If the law changes, then I think one day it'll be done, and we'll have the Sikh motorbike drivers as well.
Last question. Actually, I just want to ask you if you have anything to say, looking to the future. Now, what one thought that crosses my mind is, if immigration stops tomorrow in Canada, what do you think? What do you think would happen to places like Scarborough, Gurdwara in 50 years' time?
I think it's a very valid question, and we should think about it very seriously. Because if you look at the history of Canada, at one time they wouldn't allow anyone to come in. It may not happen, but as I said, we have to be prepared. In Scarborough, like first of all, I'm proud to be the team of Scarborough Gurdwara, especially the founding team. And we started from a small place, like we bought 2 acres of land in 1985, and now we have 14 acres of land and huge Gurdwara. I think what we need to do is, which we have not done so far. The community grew big in few years, but we didn't have the infrastructure for it. So apart from Gurdwaras, we have no other places. So people are expecting all kind of services from the Gurdwara, which is not practical. It cannot happen. We have to build community centers. We have to build Khalsa schools, so our kids can be educated in that environment at least up to grade 8, so their foundation is strong. And language, we have to stress on the language, because even though you can communicate in any language, Guru Sahib did not restrict us to any language, but still Guru Granth Sahib Ji is written in Gurmukhi, so Punjabi language is very important. We have to work on the language. The parents have to become good role models, because we cannot ask kids to do if we're not doing it. So we have to start involving the young kids into the management of the Gurdwara. The Scarborough Gurdwara has already done it. We have to have at least one youth out of the 13 who's born here in Canada and under the age of 21. Give them a chance. To be surprising, actually, we had a Gurmat camp 2 weeks ago here in this Gurdwara, and we put a question to 9-year-old kids, and we said, well, if you are the president of the Gurdwara, what would you do? And surprisingly, 90% of them wrote an answer that we will ban English in the Gurdwaras.
That's amazing.
But no, the message here is the kids want to learn Punjabi, the parents are not helping them. I have those written answers with me by those kids, by 9 years old, and they're also watching the Pangat and the Sangat concept. They said, well, why aren't people following it? You do Pangat and then Sangat. It's in the Gurdwaras, it's opposite now. People do Sangat and then Pangat, and then they only do Pangat after that. So kids are watching. We've got to become good role models, and I think we need to be concerned. We have to make some sacrifices and contributions for our future generation to look after them. And I don't want to see our Gurdwaras, the hard work, wasted in the future, or they become warehouses, because I know Guru Sahib di mehr hai, kadi bhi Gurdwara da haal nahi hunda, but fir bhi I think we need to be prepared. We need to prepare our younger generation. There's a future generation to take over, because you look at your own family. A father has to hand over the keys of the house to the son at one point of time anyway. The same concept has to be in the community. We people have to hand over those keys to the next generation, and we should do it as soon as possible.
Thank you, Gurwinder Singh Randhawa. This is a very insightful, great pleasure meeting you. And I think we should conclude with the Sikh greeting and the Sikh conclusion of Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa.
Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Let me thank you and also thank the Sikh channel. I think we should be proud of Sikh channel, and we should be part of it. And we should support this channel by all means. And you give me the opportunity to talk about me as a Sikh, actually. So I think we need to work together in the future, and I think you're going to have a wonderful time too. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.